Whoa, here we go. Okay, so you're going to start in your bone therapy class today with your chair back at the wall. This is so that you'll have some support in the length of the beginning of the session. But I'm going to teach you where my chair is in the center of the mat, because it doesn't matter if I fall off of my chair, but it matters if you do. So this will be easier for you to see. Now you're going to sit into, I would say, center yourself. What's most important is these parts, right? From knee to hip, core to chest. So when you land something in between the knees, ball or block, the emphasis is an interesting part of that word, is the assistance of the movement as you squeeze into the ball. So I want you to take a deep focus of pushing into the ball and kind of test it. If the ball is a little bit higher up on the inner leg and you squeeze, oh, mine's about ready to pop out. But you want to be able to feel the kind of the wiring here on the inside of the leg towards the knee. Of course, this is pretty stiff tissue in here and sometimes inflamed for people. So you want to feel the wiring at that inside so it kind of clamps into the ball. You don't want it to be super soft flesh because it just doesn't do as good of a job when you're sitting, okay? So keep that squeeze, about 65% of full squeeze, so you can activate these legs. And you can sit back into the chair, you can sit forward into the chair, you choose, but bring your arms back so that they hold on at the hands to the seat of the chair. Okay, so I'm holding onto the seat of the chair with my hands, shoulders are motioning back, and then rest the bones of the shoulders behind you, spread through the collarbones in the chest. So you're kind of exaggerating your bestest posture. And inhale, belly soft, and exhale, squeeze into the ball. Now explore those two motions, inhale and exhale. So the ball is actually not being pushed into on your inhale. And this is a great pattern of breath to work on that pelvic floor and the root lock. Some of you have known that as Mula Bandha. But when you breathe out, when you exhale, that's when you have a little bit of pull at the base of the stomach, but not tightening through lower muscles today. Let's focus on that core path of movement. Alternate for one more time. Okay, you might celebrate just a little bit of pressure pushing into the ball, but minor, so you can hold it. And I want you to bring the left hand over. I know I'm not mirroring you exactly, but your left hand goes to your right leg, and you're going to turn to the right. And when you twist, your right hand is still onto the seat of the chair. And when you rotate, ensure that the knees they're right across from each other. Again, if you need to scoot a little bit forward in the chair so that you can see that exact angle, it's right across. So as you twist, can you create the twist more from the torso than the arms? So not the shoulders and the arm piece as much as the torso twisting. So you can squeeze the ball. Okay, inhale, center, hands both back at the chair, seat, lift the chest. And exhale, turn to your opposite side. For me, it's the left. So my right hand is on the outside of the left leg. And I'm working with monitoring both breathing and squeezing the ball. And it's a responsive surface, right? So you'll probably feel like there's always further to go. But just think of your inside experience, that whole inner lab, there's always further to do and rinse out and process. Okay, now come back in center and bring both hands interlacing at the roots of the fingers. Relax the pressure on the ball and push the palms forwards and lift it up. Can you keep your focus in front, right? So just at head level, no higher than the hands at all, but straight forward so the arms reach And there's kind of a soak of circulation through the flesh of the arms. For me, I'm trying to bypass feeling pressure in my shoulders as much as the inside of my arm and kind of the flesh below. In this area where it has some atrophy of circulation, the heart and the lung meridian, it's natural that it's a little relaxed in here. So just see if you can push through. Don't focus on how high the arms go. Find the reach that's good for you. If I'm blocking my face, it's just because there's concentration. Start to squeeze that ball a little bit deeper again, so the leg muscles are a complete toned experience. Good, and then relax the grip with the hands. I want you to remove the ball and tap onto the legs. So with the tapping, you have the pressure of the hands, but it's pretty fast. It's kind of whipping around the leg onto the side. Go all the way down below the knees to the sides of the lower legs. And see if you can cross the arms. And right arm is going to left leg, left arm is going to right leg, and go all the way up. It's going to be a little confusing. Cross the arms, go all the way back down towards the ankles and back up. Okay. Release the arms down by the sides. Let your arms dangle and tilt your left ear to the shoulder. And try to focus on feeling the natural arch in the spine. Okay, chin gently towards the chest. Right ear to the right shoulder. Okay, now as the head centers, big change here. We're going to take a quad stretch. We're going to do 2 seated poses that, well, clearly these are seated, but 2 leg stretch patterns that are oftentimes done without a chair, but it's so nice that to use this. So turn to the right. Again, if I'm not exactly mirroring you, I'm speaking or where we're going. You probably have your back to the wall, but if you need to push your chair a little distant from the wall or move things around, taking it in the middle of your mat, that's fine. But right foot steps over to that right side, and I'm going to stretch the left leg back. And I want you to explore this full stretch of the front of the back leg. So if you are pushing against a wall or it's an awkward space, give yourself the full pure benefit of being able to do these standing poses in the chair without any distractions, okay? So when you push into your right foot, you kind of need to be able to push down into your foot. So if your height limits this, you could put a block under your foot. I don't think that there might be just me and one other, this could be a possibility, but if I step on a block, oh, that feels so good. It gives me a little more stretch in my back leg and a little more poise in my lower back. For some of us, this might be too much of a back workout, but you could decide. Now, I like to have my leg touching the chair, personally, my whole under leg on the right leg, but I'm enjoying this experience for the moment with the block. Feel where the left thigh is stretching back. Try to reach down through the heel. You can have the top of the foot down. If you can't quite see, I can have my top foot down. Whoa, feels like I'm gonna fall back. I could have my toes under, but hold the chair so you don't fall out of it. And you decide. Be a little careful of the toes stretching back because it can cause a little bit of that upper inner foot cramp, which is a doozy to get out of. Only time heals that one. Okay, so let's work with the thigh stretching down. Again, make sure that you're able to feel the essence of the reach for a few more breaths. Okay, now feel how that right leg is reaching, just the hip to the knee. And then if you've got the block, you'll probably shift it out and you're going to lower the foot to the floor a little easier this way because you're going to turn this back hip open. The left foot is down on the floor. We can't have the foot lifted, the heel up. You've got to step that back into that left foot and then reach your right elbow to the right thigh, just above the knee, and see if you can turn the waist to the ceiling. Okay. The left hand could be on the back waist. It could be up towards the ceiling if you're feeling quite driven to do that, this type of shape or side angle. I like to maintain the focus that my right knee is aiming straight towards the center of my foot, not turning in. So that's a little more important for me. Now, I've loved this teaching on this pose where we would hold like the leg of the chair and take these stretches really deep on side angle. So this is a very Iyengar driven instruction, right? With the hand on the leg of the chair. This, of course, this is coming from that education, that wisdom, but I find that if I go lower with my hand, I have to work on managing this turn in my waist. So I'm just not quite capable of that, to be honest. It seems like I'm falling out of my pose. Okay, now come back up. In the spirit of posture, you might stretch your arms out to warrior two, just for the moment, and feeling where the arms lift, where the shoulder muscles, I think they strain a bit on this one for me. And then hands to the seat. This is kind of fun. You'll be careful with the back leg. So you'll slide it in, knee bending, and then turn to the other side. If you're lucky, if the mat doesn't fall off of your chair, if you're using one. Yeah, and if these standing poses and you don't have one of these sticky mats or an extra one, I have plenty. So if you want to get one from me, just let me know. I've got a collection now. They're kind of nice to have, I think, for chair postures. So when we sit, we've got our left foot on the other side. If you want to put a block under your foot, that's up to you. I really love having the wall behind my foot though. Okay, now the right leg is lengthening down. So take the time to keep moving your chair around so that you can feel this. If I could gonna take all this stuff away and show how the spine lifts, that would be good. But when we have the lift, we're trying to work on our skeletal momentum to the left now, to your left leg. If you're not against the wall, so you could put your hand on the back bar of the chair. And move yourself around if you're feeling frustrated at the wall. It'll be helpful soon to have the wall, but not as much on this part. So feel how the lift is in the ribs. Breathe. Weight into your left sitting bone. This isn't easy on the back leg. For me, it feels like there's little parts of the right front thigh, the adductor, that is trying to stretch but still has some grip. So before I leave the pose, I'm just going to let my right leg kind of dangle a little bit behind me and see if some of those fibers that are kind of a little lit up in the position can sense movement. And then turn to the right leg turns out so the foot reaches down. Now this whole flesh of the front of the right thigh continues to stretch. So this might even be better for some of us with our hip flexor because we're using the whole chair. If you're kind of sitting into the chair, that's fine. It's hopefully a good chair to support you. And then when that left elbow comes down to the leg, or if you get kind of excited about holding the leg of the chair, the right hand reaches to the back or it goes up. Now, if you have, a lot of your extremities are long, probably holding the leg of the chair is no big deal for you. You can just reach down. Hopefully you're not holding the foot of the chair and lifting it up, but you could hold the leg of the chair and feel a nice rotation, okay? And if your head is a little tired at the neck zone, you can turn your head down towards the left leg. Feel the turn through the rib cage. Breathe. Yeah, you want to make sure the back foot is, the sole of the foot is down. It will be a big stretch on your ankle. Okay, it's the last few moments here. Those of us holding the leg of the chair, if that's a lot of work in your heart, you can feel the pull. When you come up, you kind of notice it's a little easier with your breath. And then when you lift up even further to warrior two, Stretch your arms so there's an openness through the chest. You can look over that left hand. Okay, now as we lower down the hands and we take this back thigh, this is such a good hip flexor movement. So we're going to keep on this back leg. When you turn, gotta be careful shifting back in. What you'll do, I'm going to be turning my chair back to the wall in just a second, but I want you to see, so you're going to have your right leg, so you can kind of see you're going to have the right leg hooked, the ankle to the left knee, and lean forward. Grab your bolster and place that in front of you. Yeah, I would be sure that your chair, if you were in the middle of the room last, is bring it back to the wall, okay? Have the right foot to the left knee, as I mentioned. So it's like seated pigeon. And the bolster forward. Press down into the left foot. The right foot could flex. That would be good. If you could flex your right foot, it would be protective of the knee. And the angle of circulation is probably starting to squirm up into the hip. Like that right hip. If flexing the foot is kind of irritating you, you could relax it. And you certainly don't have to push far forward. Right? You could keep it a little more high with the rib cage. You could even stay back with the bolster next to the left foot. Take about 4 more breaths here. You could shift forward and back if you have some energy. But find the center of circulation in the upper right leg, and clearly in the hip. And now come back center and change the leg crossing. If you need to kind of shake out, one thing I like to sometimes do is hold my knee and make little circles when I'm sitting in the chair doing this crossover. It's more for strengthening my hip. It's not for flexibilizing it. It's more hip strength, which is part of what will help the knees, right? To have these a little stronger for your posture that pushes into your knee joint. So we'll add that in if you like. But left foot crosses now to the right knee. Oh, it feels a little different from the get-go. So pressing down into the right foot, and you can feel where the circulation blend is through that left leg, maybe from the hip. I don't know if you feel it much in your knee as far as a stretch. Hopefully it's high in the leg. I feel plenty in my left upper leg, so that flexing my foot is almost too much. It's just too much direction of blood flow for me in my hip. If I had some concern about how it kind of pooled into my knee, or it felt like it was sharp tension, then I would probably back up and flex the foot and see how I could care for the body from there. But if there's no direct knee intensity, you might go with relaxing the foot sometimes, and then go forward. You feel where the balance is through the right foot. If you dunk down between the arms, and that's kind of fun for you to keep working on that full stretch, you can work with that. Breathe. Stretch the breathing muscles, even when you're in a pretty deep stretch for one area of the body. See if you can attend to the breathing muscles, the ribs, the movement chamber in the middle. It's kind of like your pump, isn't it? The rib cage. It's got this interstitial pump into the ribs, into the diaphragm below. Well, I guess that's inside. Okay, so come back up. Let's step our feet both feet plural, both step them out to the edge of your mat. Feet are about parallel. They could be a little bit turned out, but I would stay with the toes all as forward as you can go. Okay, so scoot the bolster, make sure you're sitting on the chair pretty well, and lean forward. Take a forward bend so the hands push down to the bolster, the short end of it. Feel that reach. Head centered of the arms. Okay, so there might be a little bit of a bridge in your back. A bridge to the bolster. And then let's work our way down to the floor. So we'll push the bolster forward on the ground. And how you design the movement path to get there is probably always in process, I think. So, you know, how do you move down without making it too clunky? So when I shift down to the feeling in my feet, the area for me I have a little concern is sometimes the branch of the knees, they're kind of in the way. So when you flow down onto your bolster, you can touch the bolster. In fact, you could probably have it this way if it's easier for you to get down onto the knees. That might be better for some of us. But otherwise, you'll launch forward and you'll walk on in towards an upright push-up. Feet stretch back. The chair hopefully is right against the wall. And I'll stretch my legs back and lower down my hips a little bit. I don't want to go too far down with my hips because then it's harder to get back up. I'd rather have you in like a half down dog versus kind of slumping down in your hips. Feel the legs close together, like you're trying to squeeze them in. And that inner squeeze probably is a little tight in the stomach, trying to keep that control. Okay, now let the hips move straight down. So I want you to bend the elbows, lower down. Okay, let the feet relax. In fact, bring the knees apart so that the bolster, it's like like you're hugging the body of the bolster, okay? Bring your elbows down to Sphinx pose. And then let the back body feel supported by the position, okay? So you may not feel like you're floating around in water here. I know that's probably not true. But if your legs can touch the chair, the inside bar of the chair, the feet or the legs of it, you can feel this back body relax. So we're not trying to pull into the glutes. And then lift up your head. Of course, your neck is part of that. But when you lift up your head, you can feel some small core muscles activate. Okay. So I want you to lower down and slide the hands back so the hands are right across from the front of the bolster. Some of us actually, that might not be the best. Have your hands so that you slide them back and your shoulders do look in your peripheral vision like they're forward, like they're moving down. Stretch your arms straight back by the sides. Can you use your arms, your ribs, your core, your posterior core back here to keep the lift versus tightening the glutes? I want you just to work with that. So it's maybe feeling that pulse in the belly now. Okay. Now bring the hands down back where they just were, press, and you're going to lift into a version of up dog, stretching the front of the spine. Front of the spine is right behind the heart, that space. And now come back to table and let's move the bolster. And I think you're going to want to have all these props. You're going to want to have your blanket under your knees. Maybe. Might as well have some little cushion here. Have a blanket and stretch the hands as wide as the mat. Lift the knees up. And we're going to alternate this pattern for arm, kind of celebrating the arms. So when you lower your knees down, feel the arch and the chest forward. Okay, when you exhale, you lift the knees up and you stretch the chest. Okay, come back down. We're going to do 5 of these. So we've got a few more. Inhale. And exhale. You will probably learn how to get the shoulders to center here. Couple more. If you need to take a pause and skip one of them, that's fine. Okay. Now, feel when you push back the next time. If your knees are down, just come back up. And then get a feel for the stepping out of the feet. Maybe they're right at the edge of the feet of the chair. Yeah, don't get your toes caught into the feet of the chair here. You could get tangled up. And, you know, looking to the feet placement straight back. You're trying to keep the arch on each side about the same. It's a little tricky to balance the alignment of the bones. Okay, now we're going to take away one of them. So bring the right foot over towards the left and then step it forward. And oh, this could be all crazy now. Get a block set. Managing props. Okay, now get the blocks so they're supporting under your hands, but feel where there's a necessary lift of the back leg. The calf for me is feeling extremely sensitive to this stretch. So I'm trying to keep the back foot parallel, but it's not easy. It wants to turn out to get somewhere. But work with the movement. So remember in the beginning, well, let's not worry about what happened. Let's be here. So we'll lunge with the left knee down, inhale, chest up, and exhale, come back. And instead of trying to straighten the front leg, I want you just to lift, right? So you just come into that upper lunge. Inhale, knee down, lift the chest. Exhale, knee comes up. That's all. Okay, let's do one more. Knee comes down, stretch the front of the back leg, lift the chest, and then come back up with the left knee. Step the left foot to the right foot. Take a full stretch to a standing arch. So I want you to bring the hands, if your balance works with this, feet about hips distance, no wider. Hands to the back of the pelvis, so the palms are pressing. You're going to lift but move the ribs forward as long as you can. I know it's really kind of hard to get this full lift and keep the ribs forward without rounding your back. But when you come up, this will be much easier. Hands at the back of the pelvis, as far as you can tell, and then keep the chest lifting. And if you get a little bit challenged with your blood pressure, keep the breath going. It does mess with it quite a bit. You have a little chemical mixturing right when you're posing. Okay, now, when you reach the arms back, let's let them just be apart. Palms open towards the sides, shoulders moving back. Okay, chest is forwards. Now this could be easier to move with the ribs forward, going from up to down. I think it's easier than going from down to up. It's like you already have the spine kind of ready to go. Now when you reach the hands down to the blocks, bring them as far forward as you can. And rest your awareness into the knees, slightly bending, and the spine extending. So instead of a rounded or an increasingly rounded back, if I have my blocks, I can kind of get a little bit more extension out of my spine, a little bit more arch. Okay, so give it a few moments. If it takes your breath away, then you can let your head lower down and just cruise into forward bend. Okay, but if you can maintain this reach, try. Okay, now shift your blocks back besides your feet and take that right leg back to stepping into a left-legged lunge now. Lower the back knee, inhale, arch. So I actually feel my back, so I try to push a little forward. And then exhale, lean. Okay, I've got to work on that. My back, I'm trying to almost straighten my left leg, but that's a no-no. So it's just lower the knee. So that's it. Just lower the knee, arch the spine, and then exhale, lift. You can tell I'm going through a process too. Okay, it's mostly the focus of the feature of the back quad. So lifting up the chest, try to stretch the ribs up. Okay, and then just feel when you lift the back knee, if it's a little there's a little tremor, you have all the reason to tremor on this one. Okay, now last time, lift up the chest. Okay, that feels pretty good. And then when you lift up the back knee, you're going to turn to the right, take a wide stance, and just go ahead and scoot yourself. Whoops, almost lost my chair. Okay, scoot yourself so that your right leg is against the leg of the chair. Okay, the chair will win if I kick it anyway. So lean down, but let's say before you go down to the floor with your hands lowering the blocks, see if you can get the legs, even though this is kind of an inner position with the legs, see if you can work on the muscles above the knees, lifting. So you might get a feeling a little bit in your hip, okay? Now when you're forward, this kind of lets go, right? It just kind of sags back down, it sags. So when you move down, I want you to let your head lower down. So if you're comfortable with this, I would just go for it because you can get that lift of the legs easier if your head is this way versus this way, the kind of arching. So those of us that are going to work with this will slide the blanket in. I would just bulk it up because there's no reason why it should look pretty. And hands are inside the line of the feet. Now you might need to have it higher. You might be here with a block under it, okay, to bring the crown of your head down. You might be with the blanket or maybe no blanket. But hands are in line with the feet and the legs. You're trying to pull the thigh muscles up, right? Your Zoom screen is going to go see if you are. So you want your thighs to pull up. Again, you're in most of a forward bend, right? So forward fold, thigh muscles pull up, breathing. Let the head lower all the way. So the crown of the head down to your props. Big leg stretch, but it's two positions of the leg. It's the back opens and the front strengthens. Get a little more tolerance for it. Endure. Not easy. Okay, now, when you come up, feel if you can shift your hands forwards on the blocks or the floor. Legs relax, the thighs have to relax now. And then shift your blanket back off of your mat. And if you've got blocks that help you out to get to the chair, well, that's fine. But you're going to turn and bring your hands up on the chair seat and turn your right foot so the foot faces the toes towards the wall. Back foot pivots, and your ankles get pretty flexible from all these movements, I'm sure. They're going back and forth and twisting. But my right foot is under the chair, facing, like I mentioned, towards the wall parallel. And you're going to work right now with the feeling of straightening both legs. So this time we're going to go for that. Back foot, is parallel as well, both legs in two different tracks. Press and reach through that arch. Well, this feels pretty good. It's a lot of leg elasticity to manage. Okay, now you're going to shrink the underside of the right leg a bit. So this is its maximum pull. And it's got elasticity. It's kind of like a rubber band, right? So when you bend the right knee, scoot the foot back so you can see it. Okay. Now a balancing pose is both muscle and flexibility, right? Half moon is both. So what I recommend you do is just see how much you're pushing into your hands. Feel if it's very forceful. And then lighten it up. Lift up the back heel. Again, if you're too close to the wall, you might scoot your chair a little bit back from the wall to start. But for some of us, this is no big deal. The close. And as we lift up the back leg in balance, you can certainly have your hands on the chair the whole time, both of them same place. You can scoot them towards the back of the chair on the seat. But feel and take breaks. Bring the left foot down, feel the lunge. and then lift up the back foot. Pivot the left foot out for those that are adding on. So the left foot turns out. And you have to feel where the right inner leg stretches, right? The bones on the front, the inside, the back side, the hip. And then maybe that left arm goes up. Okay. But noticing maybe the scatteredness of the balance, if it's been a while too. I think the muscles have a little sensitive memory to this one. Okay, and strengthening your hip, both hips get strengthened in this position, even that upper leg. Okay, if the arm doesn't move very far with the chest moving to the ceiling, feel the left hand go towards the wall. That can be just as good. And then turn the left hip down so the toes face down, slide the left hand down to the chair seat. And then as you step both feet back, we'll bring the hands to the side of the chair, edge of the chair, hands push, and come into up dog. Inhale. Now I can feel differences in each leg here. Okay, try to keep that breath going, alternate in and out breath. And then come back, left foot steps under. Yeah, don't take too much time in between so the legs can get an even support. And not to worry if you can see your foot or not at this moment. Just feel the pressure into the legs. You can put your elbows on the chair seat if that's helpful for you. It's a little more challenging, but it's less challenging on your wrists. It's a little more on your flexibility and your shoulders. Okay, and even if you're pretty low in your intensity, well, it's a pretty high intensity, your elbows are low. See if you can still work on the feeling of resistance and slow, deep breathing, the resistance in the muscles, and manage the breath. Slide the left foot now so you can see it underneath your vision, right below the knee. It's not under the chair seat anymore. And then as you position the lunge, now what I find here is very few of us would go into half moon or one-legged balance, forcing the knee over the toes, because you would like kind of somersault out. Well, you have a chair, so you probably won't fall down. But when you shift, use the elasticity of the back foot, right? It's got some flexibility, just the skin, the movement of the foot lifting and lowering. Use that momentum to bring you up with the back foot. Yeah, it's different loads of awareness. If you need to come back and do that leg stretch for longer, just stay with it. I think you got gypped on this side for the leg stretch. Okay, so the inside of my left foot is trying to press down from my big toe to my heel. And then when I lift up, I lift the leg, and then I turn that right hip open. It's actually not feeling like the hip is open. It feels like everything's working out in my leg. And then if you feel kind of squished towards the wall, just that it's so close, you might work with reaching all the way towards it and really see if it is that close. Maybe, I mean, if your head touches the wall and it's barely touching, it's going to feel like it's supporting you, doesn't it? So if you're a little bit shaky, press into the foot, but keep the ribs turning to the right and up with the right hand. Breathe. And now lower the right hand down. If you have the arm up, you may be here with the hip open without the arm up, or the hand at the wall. Hands lower down, shift the right thigh so the toes face down. And then as you step that right foot back, we'll bring both feet back. And I want you to take a dog pose, right, with the hands on the chair. Feel like it's a really long, it's not time-wise long, but a very lengthy stretch for your shoulders and your back. Okay, notice if you can do any movement of your back or if it's pretty much just pulled incomplete. So we'll start to kind of transform the movements in the back. Okay, now the head, if it drops down, this is exaggeration, but we have to be a little careful about this kind of pattern. So luckily, we're going to lower the knees down And we're going to lie on our back with our chair under our feet. So luckily we'll work on this. Okay. So some of you like blankets under your head for bridge pose. If you do use it, use very little of it. So only a little part of it so you can flatten it down. This is a good water breaker. If you need to take a moment to yourself, this is a good time. Okay, so we have our blanket. I'm not going to use mine very much for this little part, but I'll put it to the back. Then our chair. Let's see, what else do you need? You need your ball and you need your blocks, and no sand yet, but it's coming. Okay, I would just stack your blocks up like, so it's really easy to get them in for what we're doing. So it's easy access, kind of next to, high up to the side. Okay, so I scoot towards the chair, so it's easier on my back and my neck. I get really close to it to get into this, and I roll down, kind of like when we do legs up. Then I swing the feet up. Okay, no blanket for me, but you might like it. I think it should be a personal choice, but just realize if those forward bends, you really can't get your head to control just because the muscles in the upper back are maybe weak, so you round really easily. It's so tricky how to get those muscles in the right amount of tone, but then not to feel like they're getting tenser or you feel tight. So I think some of these poses can help. So this one is particularly good. So my head feels like if the back of the skull is centered, it feels like my jaw is lifting a little bit. I'd rather have that than my chin pushing into my chest and rounding. So you've got the feet on the chair and the ball between the knees. Now push into your feet, and you're gonna have to push down when you lift your hips up and stretch your arms back over. The blanket is quite lovely for that. It's a great support for me. Okay, now when you have your arms moving with the spine, lower the spine, that goes before the arms usually, and feel the spine traction down to the pelvis. Feel the natural arch of the spine. Okay, inhale, lifting up. And make any adjustments you need so you're having a good experience. So if that means you need to shift your clothes or anything, this is really important that you can be comfy as could be. Okay, lift the hips, even if that means the class is over, huh? Okay. Try not to turn your head much on this one for the safety of your neck. Okay, let's do 2 more. Go really slow. Go so slow it's a little irritating. You're going so slow that you can feel what parts of your pelvis are actually strong or weak, right? So what I've noticed is the need to get stronger in my hips, not necessarily flexible now. So I'm kind of going backwards because it's better to be stable. So feel the natural arch when you lower down. That means you can feel the tilt of the pelvis. So the pressure of the back of the pelvis touches down. There's that wave of movement in the pelvis towards the ribs. It's really subtle, but it's there. And that natural arch from the around the base of the pelvis, the tailbone pressing down, is kind of like what you're doing with your neck at the other side of your spine. It's almost the same kind of action. It probably is no different. It's just a spine. I mean, maybe you're special besides that, but it is just a spine. Okay, now squeeze the ball and keep the natural arch and relax the grip. Inhale, belly soft. Exhale, squeeze into the ball. This is easy. Inhale, soften the abdomen, relax the grip on the ball. And exhale, squeeze. Okay. Legs are awake, but if you were to tap on them, they do feel pretty like they're contracting. Okay, bring the knees into your chest and remove the ball. Then, all these things, get a block. I think you could use one, you could use two on this, I guess. It's kind of up to you. So when you push your feet into the chair, if your knees kind of wobble out, that would be that would not be good, right? So that's not very helpful for my pelvis. So when I push into my feet, I want to feel my knees, the motion is up with the hips. And then I slide a block. Now I can slide my block about the second setting, and I kind of nudge it back so it's at the very, it's at my lumbar for me, but it's nowhere in my ribs. But the back of the pelvis is a good set because it's kind of like a seat for it on the back. Some of you might take two blocks and put them side to side so they're lengthening towards the wall, and it's still the same height, but it's a little more stable. I don't know, I think a cross is just as stable for me. Okay, and if you want to go a little higher, you can take two blocks and stack them flat on top of each other. And there you are, you're almost in a shoulder stand prep. Your chest, you don't want any blanket on that one at all, because now your throat has this deeper circulation in the thyroid that you don't even need to focus on anything under your head but a light mat. Now bring both legs up. You have three versions of your blocks, right? You can go flat or second setting, two next to each other, or stack the flat ones. And yeah, the diaphragm muscle here has this interesting kind of stress. So with that stress is also soothing for the nervous system, the vagus nerve. So feel where the shoulders are back. If they're not quite pushing in towards the spine, that's just fine. Feel that you have bones that's set. And then bring your arms down towards the chair. We're not going to touch the chair at all, but they have relaxation through the fingers. Now let's give this a few moments. We're going to do two full inversions today. They'll be the same kind, but you'll get a feeling for the difference with and without the wall, with or without. Feet are relaxed. They're not flexed with a sandbag, so it's a little different drain from the toes down into the groins. And with the belly kind of quietly moving with the breath. Rest your eyes. Okay, now if the palms are open, you can turn the palms down. You can also kind of hold your blocks. This is sometimes interesting, although I do feel the difference in each of my shoulders when I do this. I notice how their imbalance is, even if it's somewhat subtle. So if that's really an imbalanced position for you to hold your blocks, then I would just let the palms be down. Okay, so as you bend through the legs and you lower the feet carefully, maybe 1 foot at a time, whatever is easier for you. Don't miss the chair though. Almost missed the chair. Well, you could go down to the floor, and that might be kind of refreshing for some of you on your hip flexors, actually. But coming out of it, you do want to probably push into the chair. So to come out, we'll push down into our feet, probably on the chair, easier to get the movement of the spine higher. Slide the blocks out. You did a really good job using however many you use, how you formed them, and then lower the spine. Okay, now find that movement of the back tracking, and we'll take cobbler's pose. So slide your blanket in under your head. If it's pretty low, that I don't think that would be a problem here with feet together, knees out. But if it's not comfortable enough, you could certainly move it a little bit higher up, like roll it up one more time. But if you can kind of assess the balance of the neck, it still might feel chin is lifted. But better for the neck, right, than jamming the chin down. And then the feet can be in a relaxed position, right? They don't have to be trying to push and form a unifoot. They're independent, right, of each other, but they each work on, one side, the meridians on each side. So fundamental awareness here is simply the inner leg. After you've had the inversion, this is a really good way to do the lymph drain. Probably just as well at the wall if you do legs up and then you slide your feet together in this position when your legs are a little higher. But this has its benefits because it's a different circulation kind of soak in the legs. It's just a little different than legs at the wall. Okay, let the few moments pass here where your feet might not entirely push together at all. They may barely be touching, but your direction is satisfying that sensation in the legs. Feel the belly move with the breath. Feel it shift so that the knees can move up. And now they move together truly. I mean, they're not going to go to the ceiling, but when you move them towards each other, feel when your feet press into the chair edge, feel the back of the pelvi in the natural arch. Okay. And then when you roll to your side, you could roll to the side to come up. You could decide, no, I'm going to do a boat pose. I'm going to hold the back of my legs and I'm going to roll up and see if I make it. And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you go back and forth, back and forth. So let's try to join where our legs are up on the chair. So this kind of requires a certain amount of range, right, for our hamstrings. So if sitting on a blanket is helpful for you, it will make it easier. And if I sit on a blanket, it'll be easier for my hamstrings, but not as easy for my balance. Okay. So feel the legs kind of given towards the chair and then extend your arms besides the just reaching out from your shoulders and see if you can lean back and lift the chest. No one has to take their legs off the chair. Okay. There's some people that do this that might find this is the perfect opportunity to grab my feet and lift them up to the ceiling. If that's you, go for it. Because your legs are already there, but to get that position, pull the feet in, lift the legs up. It might be kind of fun to play with if you're feeling so interested in doing back and forth. There you go. And she's back. Okay. All right. Lower the legs down from the chair. You've got to feel like a toddler at some point again, even if you don't truly. Okay, slide the blanket in so that you're sitting on it, right in front of the chair. Okay, make sure it's pretty big. It's not like a quarter fold. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's hard not to make it that way, I agree. But when you stretch the right foot under the chair seat, the left foot is on the floor. It's not still on the chair. Okay, so I'm going to add a ball and a sandbag here. I'm going to gather my props in and put one on my left leg. Having the legs with that movement on my back, bridge pose, I felt was really good for my knee. But when I come into this, it's like, trying to figure it out. Now the ball under the side of the knee isn't necessarily going to be that beneficial. Sometimes if you have it higher up on the underside of the side of the leg, feels better for me. So find that. Now the right foot, mine's starting to slide left. I'm telling you all the things I'm doing wrong. So I'm going to try to get the toes to go straight up at the wall. I don't have a care in the world if my foot's touching my leg exactly. I'm interested in the branches of my leg to my right hip, and then I'm going to sink into my right sitting bone. Just sink it. And right arm on the chair. And feel where the arm is reaching and the waist is turning. Okay? You can bring your right hand to your head to lean into it. You can let the left arm relax behind your back. Okay? You can let the left arm lift. But if you're going with that pure lift, be sure that your sitting bone position on the right leg is relaxed. So you're not trying to kind of cling at the top of the thigh and grip. You're relaxing this right side of the abdomen into the hip. This might be your best bet, is to just lean and let your left arm relax behind your back. And give a few moments, feel that leaning. There's always further to go, but we have a chair, so we don't have to go further. Okay, now, the brain is tilting on this position. There's a little brain shifting of the skin of the neck stretches over. So when you come up, bring the right hand to the left leg. So we take this rotation. Now I don't have to move my left arm around anywhere. It just naturally stays on my back. But when you turn to the left, feel where there's resistance with both arms. I mostly feel it with my right arm, not a lot with my left. It's just there. So the reason I'm mentioning this is when we've done like chair twists and we hold the back bar, we're pushing and pulling, right? So that's the help that helps our spine and the stimulation between the vertebrae. That's what makes it the spine. Okay, so you want to try to create that vibration, that circulation. So when I hold onto my left leg with my right hand, I am trying to use my left hand on my back, so I'm pressing a little bit into it. Nothing super forceful. It's like 20% of press. Turn, lift up the ribs. Breathe, don't gasp. And then turn back to the chair. Okay, and take the stand to the right thigh. Take the right knee, slide the foot in towards the left foot. And then hands help you out. You're going to shift your seat so you're squaring off the sitting bones. I suppose you can have a ball still anywhere. You could just sense when you're sitting cross-legged if you need that. And if there's a place that it would feel adapting for my back. So anything that's kind of holding me up, even though the blanket's really not doing very good of a job to hold me up because it's so flat, I have to work with my breathing to maintain that natural arch. That's kind of it, isn't it? So the hands on the chair is a great opportunity for spinal freedom, right, to lean forward. But you decide if you want to stay kind of prim and proper up. You can simply breathe. Now you can feel the dull movement in your diaphragm here when you use the hands on the chair. The expansion and contraction. I know you could probably go as close to the wall as you want, reaching your hands, but I don't know the benefit that would bring except for a stretch, feeling sensation. So just a few more seconds here. Okay, now slide back. We're just going to switch sides. So it'll be easy. We'll take the ball to the right knee. Underneath the leg for me is what I'm doing, not so much the knee. Left foot to the wall. So you want to be able to push. Now, if you use the rung of the chair and that's interesting for you, I still think the wall would probably be a little more benefit so that there's a solid direction with the circulation under that left leg. Okay. Now you could start with a little bit of a turn, right? If this kind of helps the movement up through the spine, the kind of the axis of the spine, so that you're kind of up Sometimes if I just lean into the chair, I get kind of, a bit too relaxed about it, too easeful and sinking. So feel when your elbow is up there, feel when your hand is behind you, and be the nicest guide to your back. This could be very easy, right? So you lean into the chair, your head is relaxed into your hand. You're just guiding your back into this stretch. Yeah, the chair work is so basic that it's useful, right? Especially when the spine starts to get tired and cranky. It just kind of holds the muscles to lift. So my left side muscles are getting some stretch. During the day, they just drop down with gravity. They just sag, right? So this way I get a little more blood flow into them. And it doesn't take much. It just takes leaning into a chair and some endurance to hold it for a while. So lean and use that circulation. Now this is feeling on my side. Lifting my arm feels kind of nice too. But really measure the focus here. Be intelligent in what's appropriate. And you should feel pretty sideways, like this is a little bit odd for your bones. Your foot is pushing, your right knee is open, all for the benefit of the waist. Just putting ourselves in funny shapes. Okay, now use the little bit of momentum you got here. So my right arm goes down, I keep it behind me, and then I bring the left arm down to reach to the right leg, and I take the twist. Now, right hand on the floor would probably work quite well for us, right? So I'm pushing with that left hand, it's a little bit of a push and a twist, right, to that right leg. And then the right hand, if it's on your back, it's kind of you're pulling and turning, or it's on the floor, you're pressing and twisting. If you had the chair with your hands, it would be a pull and push. So kind of feel if you can do something like that, pull and push. Left hand pull, that leg twist, right hand push. Final few moments here. Feel the left foot really push into the wall so that you're strengthening into your hip. Don't give up on that part, even though it seems like you're just at the final, half of class here, the ends. Still work on that little bit of push. Okay, shoulder back, breathe. Now relax the grip with the hands and turn back towards the chair. Take the left foot, cross it in front of the right, take the sand to the left leg. One last chair pose here. We'll use it for side stage, so not the last chair pose. Ball is optional. If it's already there and it feels good, just leave it. And then hands on the seat. If you're craving like a deeper pull through the muscles, you might proceed forward and take a forward fold type of position, leaning. But that works better if you're taller, I think. So for me, the only way I can really lean in, to be honest, would probably be if I had my seat higher, or I had, just a taller experience. But if I lean in, I kind of round, which is taught. Poses are taught like that too. But today we're working on more of that spine strength. But you can do that if it feels right. So feel where the weight is in your sitting bones, maybe more on the sandbag side. Now slide back, slide the sand off over to your left side. keep your ball nearby. You're going to move your chair back behind you. Okay. You're going to scoot down off the blanket, and then I would, this pretty evenly, you just take a quarter full and have my ball near my sand. And then I'm going to make sure that I have my bolster behind me. Okay. Actually, it's all going to be behind me. So we got my blanket, got my other blanket on top of that one. You need a whole closet of props. Okay, then I got my bolster, and I don't need a block. Don't need those. So add your ball on the inside of the right knee. Feel where this right leg is stretching. If you don't like to use the ball, some bodies it doesn't really seem to work as well. It just shows you that we're all different. So some of us will find the ball is unnecessary. We don't have any knee sensitivity to the movement. I think I just got used to using it so long, it feels like traction. So when I lean into that side, right now I want you to work with that. You're on your bolster, it's under your ribs, the blanket is under your head. If you need more blanket, just you can fold up the top one, right? You can take it a little higher. Yeah, just use it if it's comfortable. On the side of your neck, it's a little different than when you're on the back of your head as far as the arch. So if you're feeling tight in the side of your neck, use more blanket, and then add your arm reaching to the chair. If you don't like that, hand on the side or on the bolster, and come into side sage at your own pace. So feel the movement, traction of the breath. And feel how the connection of your body that touches the bolster. You want to feel there's a little bit of a massage there with the movement of breath. Yeah, I find that really tricky. So you could stretch your left leg a little bit, like it's almost a scissor kick. You could keep a strong bend in it too. The weight of the head down. Resting the mind, returning the body to a state of support on props, restorative. You know, change sides purely to the next side, nothing major in between. You might be kind of rolling out of it and let the sand fall with the chest open. With these sensitive side muscles, I always use a little bit more workout to help your back lift up. These are areas that are helpful. When I bring my knees towards each other, then I could use my hands and then turn towards the wall and then shift to the other side. And simple, and the focus is probably a little bit more internalized just from the get-go when you get into this restorative mode. So stay with that tranquility, mobility. And the blanket could change. The second side, you might notice, oh, I like some height under my head. For me, a little bit more, oomph, a little more support. So the arm, if it's feeling sensitive, you know, maybe you notice, oh, I can do this. But when I come out, I can feel the circulation is not so happy. So it's so essential to respect that. because you still receive some movement in the chest if your arm is down by your side. If it's behind you, it might still be too much. If it's over, it's okay, but sometimes it's okay when you do the shape, but when you come out, it tells you it's not. So it's like the whole experience should be focused in and out of things. So you monitor what's appropriate for your shoulder in the moment. And the body rests into the props. Even if you have your arm up on the chair, you know, feel how you monitor that reach through the armpit chest. See if you can work so it's not so much arm strain as much as it's supported. And then the circulation really takes on an experience of its own just by having it lifted on the chair. It can be nice because this is a lymph drain too. You have so much of that lymph in the armpit chest, right? And in the groins. So good areas to get some stretch or some concentration in. So feel the weight of the body on the props. Now with this left side still focused, we'll slide the sand over to your left, back to the side, roll to the right, and move your bolster to that right knee over on that side. So the knee is kind of resting on it, taking one of your blankets away, and you'll roll down to this back again, but this time you'll cross that. So my right knee doesn't have to be on my bolster, but it's nudged up to it. I want to encourage that so it's smooth. So when you cross over, you're on your back, your left leg crosses over to the bolster. If this is too low, you need, well, actually, no, if your knee bobs up too high, you could put a block under it or you could put a blanket, but some of us will be fine. Where's the ball? There it is. See me get lost. Record myself getting lost. Putting the ball to the sacrum and then add it the sand if you like. Now again, if it just doesn't go down onto the bolster, and the bolster's too low and you need more height, you add the blanket. Spread the left arm to the exact shape that works for you. Not everyone will want to push it out. You might find where the heart is, centered out. Find like the most fundamental position, basics. And then even from the elbow bending on the left side, you can get some help with the ribs opening, probably more so when your elbow bends, the left side, than if you push it out to the side, like you force. So we're getting back to our kindergarten practice here. Simple, essential. You feel where the weight is into that right hip. Breathing, so there's movement in the belly. And centering back towards the spine. Slide the sand off. Bring the knees to point up so that you slide the ball. Bring the knees center, bottoms of the feet down. So you look like you're in prep for bridge pose, but it's false prep. Get the bolster to the left side. And when you shift your left knee, I like to let it be so my knee there. I mean, we've taught this before with the leg straight and then go, but in some ways you end up bending it anyway. So it's like an extra movement that's not necessarily a good sign for the spine to go, oh, let's push and then let's bend, and just all this response in your muscle memory. So relax your muscle memory, maybe it's part of it. Oh, we're all learning. We're all students. So you have the ball to the sacrum if you want to. Some don't prefer that ball. And the sand is in addition. If the bolster's too low, all you do is add some height to it. And it could be a blanket, it could be a block. If having the block under your leg is just really awkward, the blanket will probably be a little more smooth. But again, that's right arm. If there's stuff in your way, it's kind of easy. You can navigate around it and still feel that chest open. Okay, so it's an open chest on this right side, and left hand is anywhere, or it's comfortable. I like to sometimes just connect to the feeling of the breath. Not that I exaggerate it more when I touch onto my core, but it's soothing. And your head could roll a little to the right. You know, be cautious on how much you're forcing movement in the neck, but sometimes a little bit of attention there could be useful. Feel the right leg try to meet the bolster. Maybe it's not the hip muscles. Maybe it's the inner thigh muscles that are resisting, or it's part of your back that grips. You know, shift your head back in center and slide the sand and the ball aside. Sand goes to the wall. You know the drill. Kind of, we do have something similar at the end each time. So when your leg is crossed that way, you might bring the knees in towards the chest. You could be kind of lopsided on the mat. It doesn't have to be perfect, but feel that combination of movement from your back in towards the legs. And then roll to the side and bring your bolster, push it to the wall so it's flat. The blanket comes in at the quarter fold. I think a quarter fold is good for this one. I like to have a blanket on me as well, this time of year especially. And when I sit up to the wall, you might put your socks on, you might put a hat on, even if you're in Arizona, maybe. Okay, sit up towards the wall. So your rear, the bottom is at the wall, not the back. There's no back at the wall. Can't get upside down with them this way. Swing the legs up. If you fall over the other side, come back to center. Find the wall with the feet. And then be a little cautious on how much you tug on your back and your neck to get to the wall. I would use your arms holding the bolster. And even if you are a little space between yourself and the wall, what you could do is have your bolster not touching the wall. And then you end up sinking between the bolster and the wall. But it almost always happens right. Right, there's space between, a little bit, itty bitty. And there you go. Okay, getting some sand. Slide it to the torso. If you're going to choose chair shoulder sand, that's completely up to you. Okay, and feel when your knees bend and the feet maybe first, I think flexing them to get your sand would be really helpful. But when you push to lift up, feel where the leg bands, right? The obvious choice of reversing the flow of gravity in the legs is pretty celebrated, right, for the legs, the skin, the connective tissue, okay? And then if you add your blankie, any cozy blankie you have around, it could be any kind of blanket for this, it doesn't have to be a yoga blanket, it could be softer, okay? And once you nearly swallow yourself, you can let the arms sit down so they can be on the ground. Okay, and zone the focus through the nostrils. Okay, feel that tune of inhaling through the nostrils and lifting the torso, the belly at the same time. So the body feels pretty small in the shape, like it doesn't feel as long because it's closer together, the parts, even if part of it's upside down. So you're using that upside down shape to reverse the gravitational pull on the organs, stimulating the kidneys, the liver, the spleen. You may even get lucky and feel the breath move just through the nose, and the mouth can be quiet. And the face can soften. So feeling the moment of inhale, the body might feel some pressure, oxygenation, all of it gets that. And as you exhale, empty the lungs. And once you have that quality of awareness in your breath, feel where the habit is of relying on the wall and simply work with the balance of the sand if you're using that. So if you move your feet directly away from the wall, it just takes a moment of feeling the pelvis press down to the bolster and just a little shift of the feet away from the wall. It's interesting to notice how you rely on it when you have the legs at the wall, right? You rely on the wall. When you shift it away, you feel a new sense of balance to the pelvic floor. It definitely ripens that up, that circulation and the drain into the groins. Bend the knees, and you can toss your sand overhead. You can carefully place it to the side. And if you've got the blanket on, you might scoop that around the legs, kind of huddle the knees in towards the chest. And you can also use it as a kind of a bumper blanket. So if you put it onto the side when you're going to roll up, sometimes it's helpful to help you get around to sitting. Sometimes roll to the side, use your hands on the other blanket. Sometimes you'll slide out. If your floor is slippery, take a seat with your back to the wall. Few extra moments here of centering the back, and the hands relax onto the lap, whether the hands are pressing or they're open. Natural connection to the space behind the heart. all through the class, the spine. Bring the hands up to meet together, feel the awareness, or just feel a balance of connection to others in your practice, even if it's just simply that you tapped onto the session. Maybe that's the piece of connection. And bow into your heart center, surrender there. Inhaling and exhale. Namaste.